Hi everyone, welcome back to Circles and Spaces. If you don't know, this podcast is all about listening to a diverse group of people with different perspectives. We also like to get into more of like what are like your weaknesses or maybe your failures, rather than just talking about all of the highs and all of the strengths. So we get vulnerable and real, and it's real fun. My name is Azande, and I'm joined by Charlie.
Hello, it is good to be back.
Co-host.
Good
So
to be
cool.
back on the pod.
And guess what?
Big
News,
Breaking
guys.
news.
You know what? It was difficult. He had to fit us in, but he's back. Dan.
I had a massive fear of rejection. I didn't think I'd be allowed back. Thank you so much for having me back today.
Doors are open for a limited time.
For one episode only.
One episode, and then you have to leave. But no, it's been an amazing time. Charlie, tell us what we've been up to. Tell them what we've been having a good time this last couple of weeks, last month.
Yeah, we just had the leadership conference at the Royal Albert Hall, and then we had our own Circles and Spaces breakout session, which I think Dan might touch on a little bit in a moment. In fact, Dan, why don't we go through it now? What was your thoughts on it? And
my thoughts were we wanted to create a space for young leaders and youth leaders, and we're just we've done the podcast, we've done a couple of gatherings before, but it was the first time when we're saying, hey, just come and hang. So we tried to create a space where there was like conversations, different contributors, but then there was a space for like discussion between each other, and and it was fun. Like, I don't know about you, like my highlight was just like listening to different people from all over the world. What about you guys?
Yeah, I think I'll be honest with you. I love people. So for me, it was like my biggest highlight will always be to just like catch up with people, whether it's like a conversation, whether it's like a quick hello, or we're going to dinner, catching a Five Guys, going to a seminar together, spending quality time. So that was definitely my highlight.
Yeah, the Australians were fun. Huh?
Oh, they loved being here, and we loved them being with us. Yeah,
they were great. I think I really enjoyed the people that we had speaking on at the seminar. We had some incredible conversations led by Jesse and Xenia, who are both Gen Z. What are they, 20? 19?
Yeah.
And I think they did such a good job in hosting the conversation as well. I thought it was a really good session. Yeah.
If I'm honest with you, I found it quite hard that we were even putting on a leadership conference, because when I chat to young people, like they're not that keen on leadership, not that keen on like the name badges and the status. I think because of like the hierarchy, the organizations, the institutions, misuse of power and control. If you say, do you want to be a leader? They're like, no, not really. And so we're like, come to leadership conference. It's for you to help you lead. And they're like, oh, I don't really want to lead. So I was doing like a little bit of research. And what I realized is that actually, even though they might not want to lead how people are leading now, doesn't mean they're not going to lead.
Yeah.
Everybody leads, they just lead different. And so I've got a bit of boring information, boring history for you. Do you guys want
to?
No,
we love
history.
Yeah, it's not boring.
Okay.
It's history.
All right, okay. So the history of leadership, if we go right back to the silent generation, like my granddad's age, I've got his funeral next Tuesday. He just passed away, but he lived a great life, a long life, and a happy life. But his generational leadership, their age 75 to 95, was controlling. And you might think, oh, that doesn't sound good, but they were in the army, they were at war back then, and that was just normal, so they were controlling. The next generation after that were the baby boomers, because there was a boom after the war, so they're aged 55 to 75, and their leadership style is directing, so they're like, go and do this. And then after that is Gen X, which are aged 55 to 75, who are actually the parents of Gen Z. And they have been described as a leadership style which is coordinating. So they started working with a team of people, which is interesting because we know Gen Z love collaboration.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of filtered down from their parents. But after Gen X, we have Gen Y, which is the millennials, which is my generation.
And mine.
And yours. And our generation...
Dan always forgets me.
Yeah, no, I just...
think you're Gen Z.
I know.
No, I think you're like, aren't you in the middle of Gen Z millennials?
Absolutely
I'm in the middle.
not.
Oh, you're
I am
full-blown
literally full-blown millennial.
Okay, great.
So I'm bang on the border.
You are, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm both.
I'm offended.
Great.
Sorry, millennials.
So millennials, we are described as guiding, which is like, we'll show you we'll say what to do, but we'll also show you. We'll go the way with you. So, you know, I love that kind of like a bigger brother walking with a younger brother or a bigger sister walking with a younger sister, you know, together. But the leadership style of Gen Z is described as empowering, which is really significant because what they want to do is give power to one another, give a voice to one another, give encouragement to one another. Everyone is equal. Everyone has a voice. Don't be hidden away. Shine a light on darkness. And so they're just leading differently. And like we've got these brands and magazines and companies and everyone doing so much to like involve this generation because they want to make money off this generation. And my whole thing that I was trying to like, you know, chat to a couple of youth leaders was about is like, as the church, we should be listening and learning from young people more than the brands and the companies, because we're not doing it for profit. We're doing it to create space to empower them so that they can go on into empowering leadership. But I kind of feel like I love the church, big C, all denominations, but we're not known for like listening well. And so, you know, part of our leadership style is like, how do we listen well to Gen Z?
Is there any like predictions or anything around Gen Alpha? So the people to come, I guess that's kind of your children. What are they predicting they might be like? Yeah,
so for those of you who haven't heard this term before, Gen Alpha is the generation after Gen Z. They're the kids of millennials. Their age sort of 10 and younger, like they've been around not too long, but they're coming into adolescence, and they're the generation that can walk into the room and say like, "Hey Siri, play Baby Shark," and da 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 da. Like, you know, they get a phone and they know how to swipe away and put in my passcode, and they're like 5 years old. So that generation, they've been described, and this is in the book that I've been reading on Gen Alpha by McQuindle. So it's not stuff I'm coming up with myself. And they've been described as inspiring their type of leadership, which is crazy because, you know, they've been in lockdown, a lot of them. You know, with their families, they've seen wars, seen earthquakes, they've been exposed to like a lot of negativity, a lot of mental health issues, and so you'd think that maybe this generation would like be very fearful. Maybe there'd be another type of you know, leadership style, but not inspiring. So as I did some research, what they were saying is that actually like the negativity and the kind of like the hardship that they've been put in has actually caused them to have a overriding reaction of hope, and they're actually looking for the best in every situation, and they're hopeful for the future. And so, yeah, I mean, time will tell, but it's pretty exciting that there's a generation, one Gen Z who wants to empower others with their leadership, another generation that wants to inspire. You know, who knows what will happen after that with Generation Beta.
Yeah, man.
Can't wait to have you. Can't wait to have you, Generation Beta. Yeah. I don't know where to take this from.
Well, we've got a couple of voice notes in. So while we had people from all over the world here, we just wanted to ask them, didn't we? Like, what are some red flags and green flags in leadership? At the moment, I think it's easy to focus on the red flags. But it's good to spend some time actually thinking about what are some great things, some good things that we're seeing in leadership. Because to be honest, I see a lot more green flags than I do red flags in the leadership that I get exposed to. It's just the media loves the negativity and the doubt, and that's the stuff that goes viral. So yeah, what do you want to do? Should we play one of these? Play the voice notes. Should we play all the red flags first or the green flags?
Yeah,
first?
let's do that.
Let's go high first.
Green flags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mad.
Yeah.
Do you want to bring us straight back to
Yeah, but that means we're going to end the podcast on a low.
But I think that's where the juice maybe comes from.
Okay.
I want to get into it.
Okay, let's hear some green flags from some of the youth leaders that we spoke to.
Hi, my name is Tebo Kabutu. I'm the youth lead for Alpha South Africa.
Hello, my name is Tatiana. I'm from Colombia.
Hi, my name is Julian. I work for Catholic Youth Context for Alpha in Canada.
Yo, it's Jeremiah from Calgary, Alberta.
One green flag I see in ministry is that we're just working more to earn people's trust. And I think that relationship is a foundation to any good ministry. That we're out here winning hearts, not just getting numbers.
Young people don't wait to be appointed in positions to actually be effective in what they are called to do, and they do it anyway, and they do it in church, they do it outside.
It should be a relationship which promotes dependence on God and provides tools for the young to be autonomous in decision making.
Gen Z, Gen Alpha, young people today are hungry and want something that is more than what we've offered. So there's an opportunity to see a great divine partnership take place to reach more people than we have in the past.
So off the back of that, was there anything that stood out? Any green flags that you related with, or any that surprised you? Or what stood out to you guys? Maybe Azande, you can go first.
Yeah, I'll go first. Mine was Tatiana from Colombia. Was saying that a real green flag is giving young people like the autonomy and choice and like a voice and space to like speak into things. And I just want to say, like, as a female and like being sometimes in like majority male situations, or like being younger than a lot of people that are like around me, or that like I have to lead in some areas, that can be really, really difficult. So I think like a great leader is definitely somebody that's like constantly like championing, empowering, and like, I don't know, like even just like setting up a young person really well. Like somebody said the other day, invite young people to like the meetings where your church plans things, and then they were like, oh no, but they'd get so bored and all of that kind of stuff. But I was just like, no, it's actually giving them an insight, and then allowing them to, and then asking them questions and saying, hey, what do you think about this? I know this might be boring, I know that this might feel like, oh, it feels unnecessary, but this is why we do it. Like, what is your opinion? And I think like things like that are really, really important, because then young people will feel invested in the future of what you're building. And I think try it, and just allow young people to almost feel as if they're part of the decision and not just like part of, I don't know, what the experience of what church is. But yeah, I just love that. So definitely allow young people to have a voice, and give them some authority in spaces.
It's interesting because that's exactly that empowering type of leadership that we were talking about, and it's cool to hear her saying that about I guess Gen Z that she might be leading, and seeing that as a green flag. And it is this, like what you're saying, it's empowering the marginalized, empowering those who may not have had a voice previously. So yeah, I just thought that was cool based off what we just spoke about. But Dan, was anything for you?
Yeah, it was Julian from the Catholic Church in Canada, and he was saying that a green flag is when we actually try and build trust with people in leadership. And I think at the moment, I feel like this generation is so disillusioned with leadership, and they've lost trust. The word disillusion just means to you have an expectation of something, but your experience didn't meet your expectation. And because of that, you're disillusioned, because you're expecting to be led like this, but this was your experience, and now you're disillusioned. And so he's saying that green flag is that leaders that actually build trust, not just assume trust. Yeah. And I think naturally, just because it's our position, we just think, all of you guys should trust me because I'm this status or this person, but really it takes time. You have to invest, you have to be there for people, you have to kind of prove yourself really in terms of trust. And I think if you're a leader, you should naturally not just assume the trust, but you should actually look to think how you can actively build trust with the people that you're leading. What was yours?
So good. Yeah, I mean that kind of links with mine, because a few of them were talking about like having to building relationship with young people, and I guess is what you're saying. It's like building that trust. I definitely know for me personally, when I was in my late teens, early 20s, when people like yourself, Dan, and other pastors, the growth in my life came when those people actually like almost embedded their own life within mine, got into my mess and built that trust and came alongside me. That was when I saw way more growth in my life, more than someone telling me you got to do this from a platform or whatever it was. It's the building relationship, building trust. So I totally agree with that.
Did you have, if you don't mind me asking, like, and I'm not saying name names, but was there any time when you like that trust was built with a leader and then that trust was broken in some way, and how did you deal with that? Totally throwing you a curveball here.
Yeah, you have. To be honest, no, that hasn't happened. Yeah, good. I've been very fortunate, because I'm sure it probably has happened to some people. No, I've been super fortunate. The people that have discipled me and led me and helped me grow in both skill sets and in understanding scriptures or whatever it may be, they're all still around, they're all still in my life, and they're all still helping me do that. It wasn't like I arrived at a point and then that was it.
Well,
they're still
it's
here
good.
and they're still helping me.
What about you, Azande? Any time when trust was broken?
Trust was broken by leaders.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I just want to say something. I think leaders are humans and they make mistakes and they will always fall short and they are very flawed, as am I. So I think it's more what you do after the trust is broken, to be honest. Because I think things like that just do happen. We are human beings. And yeah, I think that's the bit. I think it's like, how do you rebuild trust, or how do you move forward, and what have you learned maybe from that situation? And what I've learned is always have the conversation and like always clearly communicate. I feel disappointed because of this. And I think it's never about like it's your fault or whatever. I think it's more like, oh, I just feel disappointed, and this is where I'm coming from. Can we talk about it?
Yeah.
And I think normally what happens is somebody does something and you talk to everybody else and have different conversations, and actually that's really unhelpful. It's more about like, oh, I feel let down, and I might have the wrong end of the stick. Can we talk about it?
Yeah, I love that, and how we've all got like our own experience of trust and leaders, and I think probably one day we should do another podcast, on what does it look like to trust and to forgive and to heal and to help people who are victims at the same time get restoration for people who are, I guess, making mistakes. But anyway, let's put that conversation aside for now.
Part two.
For part two, yeah. Should we go into the red flags?
Red flags for the juice.
Let's definitely go for the red flags.
Azande has promised us that this podcast is not going to end on a low.
Gonna come back up.
I think a red flag is we can often have more of a ministry mindset than a legacy mindset, thinking about the metrics of ministry rather than what God is calling us to be a part of that's so much bigger than ourselves.
And a red flag in the youth leadership is to develop a dependency relationship between the young and the leader. In other words, when the leader is the decision maker and not the young.
And a red flag I see currently is, a whole lot of leaders, some of them don't want to open up to new ideas.
The red flag I thought of with ministry is I notice a spirit of discouragement over a lot of stuff, and perhaps that might be because we take ourselves too seriously, and we focus our attention on measuring our fruits and the things that we're getting right or wrong, that we lose sight of the joy of it all.
I love that. Those guys just like went for it, but in a way in which that needs to happen. Like, I think we need to have more conversations like this where we're just like really real about like what's really going on around. I really loved Shepa's one from South Africa. And he said that it's a red flag when a leader isn't open or vulnerable. And I think it's a really hard one because ultimately you want every leader to be vulnerable. But again, like I know for me, I try and wear my heart on my sleeve. But I know I'm more vulnerable with some people than others. I know you guys, so I'd be a lot more vulnerable with you than I would someone I just meet for the first time. So it's right, it's like we all want to be leaders who are vulnerable, who are open, but at the same time, as leaders, I think the question I'll be asking myself is like, how do I create that safe space for that vulnerability to happen? Because it just doesn't happen overnight, like it actually takes the space. What about you guys?
Yeah, one of them just said a red flag is a leader who's only looking out for themselves. And I guess like sometimes that can be quite hard to tell, but for me that kind of speaks into this egoism that we've seen seeped into church and church culture, and maybe church leaders as well, that maybe has come from the outside, I don't know, where we've made things all about me, myself and I.
Beyonce.
And say it louder for the people at the back.
Beyonce reference.
People are making it all about me, myself, and I.
Okay, sorry. You didn't cue me in properly, Charlie. Go for it.
Making it all about themselves. And it's a constant thing I have to check with myself as well, like all the time. Like,
easily done.
Like, am I doing this because I want X, Y, Z? Am I doing this because I want people to recognize me.
Yeah.
Do I need recognition? Do I need affirmation from a platform or whatever?
Yeah.
Not that I'm on platform, really.
And I think it's that thing, Charlie, of like, we were talking about this because we're talking about circles of spaces. We're like, what was your highlight? What would you not do again? All that kind of stuff. And in leadership conference. And then like, it was so interesting. Automatically, we catered an experience that was for us. And like, I can imagine as a leader, you would almost like cultivate an experience and a culture that you loved. And actually, is that actually really ministering to your congregation or young people? Maybe not.
Well, this is why it's so important to be a shepherd and to know your flock and to know what people are going through. So for me, that's quite a clear and obvious red flag, is people making it about themselves. And it's just a constant check. We all have to constantly ask ourselves. It's so easy to fall into that.
Yeah.
And it's probably more like a slippery slope rather than one day you wake up and you want to make everything about you. I mean, naturally we kind of do. And we just got to constantly check. Why am I doing this? That's, I guess, my 5 pence. But Azande, was there anything for you?
Yeah. So Jeremiah from Canada said that, we can be so, and I guess it's just like leading on from what you said, we can be so invested in like the ministry of, I don't know, like how many people turned up? Is the worship great? Did we follow the run sheet? Are we, how did the offering go? All of those things. All amazing parts of the service, may I add. However, he was saying, but we forget about like legacy, like long term. Do people even want to be in that space? Like, you've got an hour and a half maybe of people's time on a Sunday or whenever you do church. And do people feel as if like that's the most life-giving, awesome experience where it's not necessarily about them having the time of their lives, but they feel heavily connected to God, they feel connected to community, they feel known and seen. I don't know. And I think it's that whole thing of like, in 5 years' time, when somebody's looking for a church in your city, someone go, you should go to Charlie's church. It's phenomenal. I've been there.
Definitely
and I've had
not.
the time of my life. Do you know what I mean?
No one's going to say that.
But I think it's those things of like, what does legacy look like to you? And I think that would be the question. Like, if you're building a youth ministry or whatever, like, what does legacy look like, instead of like, what does a great Friday night look like? And embed that in prayer and in culture. Very hard to do, by the way. We're not sitting here going, hey, by the way, these are the things that you should do, and we've done them. No, it's more like, in hindsight, learning from our own failures, learning from our own, selfishly like leading or whatever. We're like, whoa, actually, what's important here? And it's for people to always feel like, I want to be there. I want to be in that youth ministry. I want to be in that church. I want to be in that, conference. I want to go to that seminar, because it feels like it's important to be there. It feels like I belong there, whatever. But yeah.
So good.
So fun. But that's been, I did say we're not going to end on a...
No.
We didn't. We didn't end low, did we?
No, we're up high. We're up high in the sky.
Can you feel it, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I hope so. Toby, our producer, is just like, this is going to be a nightmare to edit. But no, we've absolutely loved, really just like, I would say maybe just surface-wise, just picking apart a few things that some of these youth leaders and youth pastors have shared. But I feel as if there's so much more.
I mean, this is like a glimpse of what was in the room. The room was just amazing.
Yeah.
So many great people.
This has been incredible. I love these kind of conversations because I just think they're really important. I hope that you listened to the ramblings of us three and are like, that's helpful. But more importantly, like we always say, this podcast is built on your voice notes. So if there's anything that you would like to, for us to talk about, if there's anybody that you want to hear from, let us know. Give us a little voice memo on Alpha Youth, our Instagram, or just message us, and we'll get back to you. We'd love to continue to talk to you. And also, you can email us.
You can email us.
On what, Charlie?
So you can email youth@alpha.org, and I will respond to you. Send us your thoughts, and we will talk to you next time.
Amazing. Bye.
See ya.
See you later. Bye. It's very natural.